Welcome to the Rat Race to 5 podcast, where we discuss money, mindset, real estate investing, and ways to achieve financial independence. Whether you are a rookie or a veteran needing new ideas for investing or creating side hustles, you're in the right place. Here to challenge you to think out of the box, your hosts, Felipe Mejia and Diego Corzo.
What's up, guys? Welcome to the Rat Race to 5 podcast. Diego, today we have a really cool powerhouse couple. We have Ayoka and Robert talking about how they came from New York, wholesaling in like Chattanooga, Tennessee, and then scaled a portfolio in 2 years to 24 rental properties. That's huge.
Yeah, no, this is definitely a great podcast episode because we also find out like a bit about their journey, but how they transitioned, as you mentioned, going from just creating a money machine on wholesaling to investing in real estate for passive income. And there's even a surprise announcement that Ayoka didn't even know about a potential deal that Robert was able to put under contract. So it's definitely a great interview.
Absolutely. It's super good. And they're going to talk a lot about wholesaling. So shameless plug, if you go to reicallcenter.com, you can actually find cold callers for your wholesaling business, or if you're trying to find your own off-market opportunities. Your marketing to find those deals, especially right now, is crucial. So for $1,099 a month, you can get a cold caller to call up to 10,000 people for you in an area that you're looking for and potentially find off-market deals. So it's super sweet. All right, guys, let's get started. What's up, guys? Welcome to the Rat Race to 5 podcast. Ayoka, I'm so glad that you guys are here. I saw your Instagram and I reached out because I just love what you guys are doing, hands-on. A lot of the work that you guys doing. You're up to like 24 or 25 doors now with rental properties, which is like awesome. Like you're really kicking it. Diego, what's up, dude? How are you?
What's up, Felipe? Doing very, very well.
Man, I'm excited.
How's it going over there in Nashville in your end?
Yeah, dude. Yeah, Ayoka. They're over here in Chattanooga. So tell us a little bit about you guys. I want to have to introduce you. Introduce yourselves a little bit. Tell us who you are, and then we'll dig into it, man. We'll see how you got interested into real estate.
Totally, we're open books.
Who are we?
You want to start with yourself?
So my name's Robert. I grew up in Brooklyn, New York, big city, skyscrapers. Pretty much every Marvel movie place that's been attacked. That's like where I grew up. And from a little kid, my father and my grandfather has always been around property, but never did they associate property with financial freedom or using property as not having to work.
Right.
I grew up, went to school, military school, Catholic school, Jesuit school, and just grew up in the city. I'm a 100% city boy.
What about you, Ayoka? Tell us about you.
Completely opposite. So born and raised in Tennessee, very small town. Made my way up to New York at 13 years old and stayed there for about 15 years. My background is in investigations. So I used to catch shoplifters in like big luxury retail stores.
Ayo.
I was an undercover, dressed normal, walking around, watching people steal, stop them at the door, maybe get in a little fight sometimes. And
it's crazy because everybody would think that I would be the one in security, but I was actually, one of my jobs, I was doing makeup at Sephora. And I swear to God. I was doing makeup, doing foundation, everything like that, and Ayoka was getting punched and tackling people and stuff like that. So our dynamic is so crazy.
Yeah, and I would go up against guys bigger than him, but yeah, so like my background's in investigations, climbed my way up the corporate ladder from there, starting as a door guard and security at Target to working in Manhattan for Michael Kors as a district investigator. So I, similar to Rob, I didn't have like family that were investors or I didn't have the association with wealth as far as not working in, just like a 9 to 5 or going to college. I got my GED. but long story short, moved up to New York, and I would say in the last 4 years, we came back to Tennessee to start our investing journey, which was completely new to us. And I guess we'll tap into that in a bit.
So why Tennessee though?
Well, we tried in New York. So specifically wholesaling was something that we were, was our introduction to real estate.
Yeah.
And while we were in New York, I was looking into it on YouTube and going to some seminars, and Rob and I talked about it. And we tried, like we put up bandit signs and stuff in New York. We were in the heart of New York, so Queens. And we would get called from code enforcement and stuff to take our signs down. And we tried to network to find out if anybody up there had closed a wholesale deal within the 5 boroughs in which we lived, and couldn't find one person.
Yeah.
So we would frequently come to Tennessee to visit my family, like once or twice a year. So it was just a state that I was familiar with.
Yeah, I think it was just pretty much familiar.
Yeah, and I was just like, oh, well, has anybody closed the deal in Tennessee? I just wanted to see, obviously there's vast differences in the states. So it's like, well, let me see if someone's closed the deal in Tennessee then, if this wholesaling thing is real.
It's not a scam.
Yeah.
It's not big.
Because I couldn't find anybody in New York. So when we tapped into some online like Facebook groups and stuff, and I was like, anybody wholesaled in Tennessee successfully? It was like
yes.
Like, oh yeah, I close in Tennessee all the time. And that's when we started discussing, well, dang, we need to go to Tennessee then.
But mind you, at this time, I was selling, now Ayoka let her background.
Yeah.
I was selling cars, so performance cars, Porsches, Volvos, Maseratis, Ferraris, all that stuff, all the cool stuff that I can't fit in, right? Because I'm 6'6", right? All the stuff that I'm not able to fit in, right? But so I worked in Manhattan, where pretty much we were surrounded by high net worth individuals that on their lunch break, they would come in and spend $350,000 on a Porsche, or $400,000 because they want a case, or they're getting divorced real quick and they want to liquidate as much cash as they can. So they'll spend it. So I was making about 10 to 15 grand a month, and she's telling me about this wholesale thing, real estate. I'm like, man, I'm set. I am gonna grow old in this.
He was getting like his
custom suits on my lunch
work.
break. You know, I was like, man, I am cruising. I am good right now. I don't want to hear about financial freedom, real estate, investing. I'm good. And long story short, the next month, after 3 years of being the number one salesman, I get fired because the owner wants to sell the company, and we're doing so good, he sells it. And the first person to get fired is me, the number one salesman. And
of course.
I remember calling her. I was like, man, I just got fired. Like, my GM was like, any job you want on the strip. And, there's every single automaker you could think of on the strip: Lamborghini, BMW, Mercedes. Mm-hmm. And she begged me. She's like, please don't get a job. Let's just go down to Tennessee for 1 week. Let's just try it. And, we booked a China bus ticket for $40, which was terrible. And, we went on our first appointment right after that.
So let's start at the beginning of that story, because a lot of people that are listening are going to ask, how did you get your spouse on board? That is like the most common question when a couple, when one of the parties wants to get involved in real estate with this crazy ass idea, because we read a book or we heard a podcast, and it's like, oh, I'm going to go tell my spouse about that. So Ayoka, tell us about that experience, about telling Robert that you were interested in this, and do you want to move down to Southern Tennessee and start wholesaling?
Oh, I've done that joke so many times. That's exactly how I felt. I'm like, why?
Yeah, well, I'm glad we can curse on here, because it might slip up. Anyway, it was the most difficult thing trying to get him to see. And
Ayoka, was he hard-headed?
Yeah, yeah. And if is he still hard-headed?
Is he still hard-headed?
Here's the fair thing. If we're all humans, right?
It's my question, right?
This is Ayoka. This is Ayoka, Robert. Mute Robert's mic. No, I'm just playing. Ayoka, tell us that. How did you get him on?
For 10 years.
As spouses, right? I'm gonna stick with what's for sure versus what's a if. It's just natural.
Correct. As men, we like this.
Yeah, our rent, just to give everybody an idea of what we were, spending per month. our rent was about $1,800, just the rent. Our car payment was about $800. We had all this payment. I'm like, man, I don't know if I want to take a chance at this thing that you've never done.
Right.
So, it was just difficult for me, but just to answer your question.
Yeah.
Got it.
So the thing is, we were in two very different places in life. Like when we were both working and we both loved our jobs. So that's that's another thing. I wasn't seeking, entrepreneurship or seeking to leave my job or wealth creation or anything like that, or even having assets. I just wasn't knowledgeable of that stuff. So I would listen to, I don't know if you or your audience are familiar with The Breakfast Club with like Charlamagne tha God and all of those people. And I would listen to that every day in my office. And they would always like interview celebrities. And they randomly interviewed this one guy that was a real estate investor and out of Maryland. And I just happened to be watching it because I knew that this show would only kind of have accredited people on their you call it podcast or on their radio show. So I was like, okay, I'll just listen to this guy. And I happened to just listen to him. And then he was talking about wholesaling with no cash or credit. And I was like, oh, that sounds interesting. Like making, these thousands of dollars, and I don't have to have, amazing credit or cash. And I just got very, intrigued by that. So I went to a seminar, and to answer your question directly, I was focused for, say, 2 months on strictly learning wholesaling, where I knew that my partner was not ready to receive that, or he wasn't really interested in learning. When I was, after my 9 to 5, I'd go to Starbucks for a few hours to research wholesaling, watch videos for hours. On my weekends, I'm going to Starbucks, I'm watching it for hours. And to try to make him, in all fairness, to try to make him want to have the same interest that I had wasn't really fair to him. And if he wasn't interested, it would kind of make me upset, but I was just like, okay, I'm just going to go create an LLC. Like I did all of this without him even knowing.
Ayoka researched pretty much to become as knowledgeable as possible before she broached the subject to me. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, all right, how do we get started? I want to be supportive. And so, all right, I already have an LLC, and this is how you do it. This is the contract I already paid for. I'm like, what?
Like I had business cards. Yes. I had a mailing campaign going out.
She had systems. So it's like, to me, it felt like, all right, I'm not walking in this with my spouse like we're learning it together because I'm not really interested. She knows that she can kind of ramp up the process for me to know. And it showed me that she was invested in it. And once she's invested, I love her. I want to be invested with her just to support her.
And so him getting firing just made it more interesting.
It helps to get fired.
Yeah.
So if you want to get your spouse involved, just get fired real quick and then, get a source of income real quick.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, man. So then throughout that process, when did you, Robert, were like, okay, well, this is something then that I'm going to become more interested in. Let's commit to spending more time. Let me read about it too and all of that.
Man, that's such a tough question because to this day, with all the properties that we've done, I'm like, what the? We just closed the deal for, a month ago for $75,000. And it was just, all I did was sign a piece of paper, and it's still to this day a wholesale deal, and still to this day it's crazy. But to answer your question, I just want to be supportive more so. And when she pulled a list, Ayoka pulled a list, and it had sellers with properties and everything like that. And I the first person I called on the list, cold called, because my job was cold calling people and selling. So making a call is not an issue. Mm-hmm. So the first number I called, my strong suit.
Not so strong suit. Yeah.
My strong suit is communication, selling myself to people, and hers is the data. And when she pulled that list and we're in New York and I'm in the apartment, she's like, please just sit down and let me show you this. She pulled the list. I'm like, all right, let me give someone a call. I was like, all right, I'm going to give 5 people a call. I do this for a living. I don't really care to do it, but I'm going to do it to support you. The first person I called, he's like, yeah, I'm interested in selling 5 properties. When can you be down here? And I'm like, hey, before not even thinking, I'm just in a fury. I'm like, whoa, 5 properties. I'll be down there next week. And he's like, all right, I'll see you next week. I had an appointment before we had a bus ticket down there. I'm like, all right, let's head down there. And that's why I was telling you where we headed down there and we had an appointment within a week of me getting fired for 5 properties, which we absolutely had no clue what we were doing. Yeah. We went on HGTV to look for repair values and cost. And we're like, all right, bathrooms cost $25,000, kitchens cost $50,000. And we're thinking things in the hood were full, flips and stuff. Like, we didn't know what we were doing, but we jumped in. And when I realized that, all right, I could just call and just ask somebody. The worst thing that they can tell me is no. It's pretty easy. I hear a lot of yes, no's every single day. The minute I hear a yes, it's pretty easy. So I just knew, hey, let's make it snowball. And like I said, if you love your spouse, you want to see her successful. I saw how passionate she was about it. I had no choice but to have her back, and it made it easier.
I love that. And what I really like about what you said is, and I think a lot of people get this backwards. You went in, made the phone call, and figured it out later, right? Yeah. A lot of people want to have it 100% figured out prior to getting started. And I always say that you're losing money that way. And they always are like, what? And I'm always like, look, you need to be earning while you're learning, okay? Like, you have to be making money while you're learning. If not, you're going to endlessly be learning and you'll never make any money. I have people that'll come to event after event and go to other events. And I'm like, bro, I promise you there's not a secret sauce that you're looking for.
Oh my God, that is
there's not.
What you just said is the biggest
I think we definitely were looking for sauces.
Yeah, we're like, all right, what system can we get to get the secret sauce? Who
do we need to listen to? Who's going to give us the tips?
And I think the difference that we learned early on is people are looking for all the answers, none of the work. What's the most efficient way to do it? And
you could say that again. All of the answers, none of the work. Put it on.
Yeah, all of the answers. Hey, can I pick can I pick your brain? I'm like, dude, we didn't have anybody to brain pick. We learned on YouTube, which was terrible. It was not fun. But you will always have to research and find. You'll always learn. It's growth. You're never going to be ready for growth because it's new. Just like, what that Wale song, it's just, you're never going to be ready. And I think people, they just want it to be easy, and it's not easy. You're going to work more as an entrepreneur than you will as an employed person. I will tell you that. Guaranteed. But the hours will be so much more rewarding versus you being employed, and that's the difference.
I like what Diego always says. A mentor taught him this. I think it was, Diego, what is it? Something about like, don't work for wages, work for equity or knowledge. What is it?
Yeah. So Osborne, one of my mentors, says you should only work for 2 things, knowledge or equity. So that at this point, you're trying to learn as much as possible, or you have some equity that you can grow into things.
And as an entrepreneur, like the hours that you're putting in, you're getting an ROI, whether it's going to be in knowledge or equity in your business. You'll never take wages. Like, ever since I started as an entrepreneur in all of my businesses, I've never got like a W-2 or wage check. It's always been consulting fee. It's been like, it's always just been ROI based on what I've learned. So for you guys, what was the next step from wholesaling? So you were like, okay, I went on this meeting. How did that go? You knocked it out of the park, right? You bought all 5 houses and made $1 billion.
Is that what happened?
Yeah.
Well, that's what people get sold.
Let me know, because I didn't cash a check.
That sounds great.
Dude, we fell on our face so bad. We fell on our face so bad. The seller completely whipped us around. We thought we knew what we were doing. Dude, he was like, hey, you're going to be here at that point. We're, I
would say we had some control, but we couldn't control what we didn't know.
No, exactly.
So it's like, we were learning our numbers. We didn't really have a good idea of repair costs. We didn't have a good idea of what is an A, B, C, D neighborhood. And that was a really big thing. You know, we're evaluating the house as if it was, I don't know, like.
We're thinking it's on 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue in Washington.
And meanwhile, there's like murder on this corner every day.
One of the guys that we came, one of the buyers when you wholesale, one of the cash buyers that you bring.
This is more should be like a culture shock.
Right? Yeah, culture shock thing. One of the buyers that we brought over, you know, we called it 1-800 buyer or 1-800 home buyers, not knowing that, you know, there's cash buyers that are not on 1-800 numbers. But the dude came and he came with a gun and he's like, just making sure everything's okay. I'm like, whoa, I'm coming from New York where you can't even jaywalk without getting arrested. And this dude has a gun in front of me, you know? So culture, I think, you know, to answer your question specifically, the next step, we were able to close our first deal for $2,700. After we did that, which
we lost all 5 of those contracts.
Yeah, we lost all 5 of those contracts.
Like, we had to back out of all 5 of them.
Yeah, we got destroyed on them. And something crazy happened when we lost all 5 of those. I'm like, all right. Immediately we sat down in the car. We're deflated for, 15 minutes. But the 16th minute after that, we're like, all right, I know what we did. We didn't drive the neighborhood correctly. We're only thinking one exit strategy. Every appointment we sit down, we talk about the deal, but then right after we talk about what could have been better. And I think after that, we're like, all right, on our next appointment, we'll drive the area. We'll know what A, B, C, D neighborhood. We'll know flips, rentals, holds. Yeah. We'll know different avenues because going on that appointment, we could have closed those 5 deals if we were thinking of them as rentals because they were cash flowing crazy. Yeah. But we thought about them as flips where the buyer needs to make $40K, which completely destroys the deal as a cash flowing property. So right after that, we were pretty laser focused on what we needed to do better.
So I'm a wholesaler here in Tennessee as well. And one of the things that I tell the people that I coach or that I mentor on this business is there's 2 separate no's that every seller is going to give you. The no, I'm not selling. Just no, I'm not selling. You could give me $1 million. I'm not selling. Yeah, that's the people you don't.
Here. I'm gonna. We've heard a no and said, listen, I'm gonna die here.
Yeah. Like I've heard that a lot, and I always tell my mentees, look, honestly, they're not worth your time. If you want to put them on a drip every 3 months, fine. But they're not worth your time. And then there's the no buts.
Yeah.
Like no, but I want to hear an offer. No, but I don't have somewhere to go. No, but I don't for the right number, maybe. No, but everything is for sale. No, those are your follow-ups that you'll make great money on. So I always tell people, you can always learn by someone's reaction and what they're saying in wholesaling. And it's up to you to have the most strategies under your belt to fix their problem. It's a money issue with taxes. Let's do sub 2. Let's do owner finance. If it's, hey, I don't have anywhere to go. Okay, let me connect you with this rock star realtor that can show you what's the possibilities if you do sell it to it. I can't repair things. Don't worry. I'll fix it. We'll be fine. Like, I always tell people, the more you know, the more you're going to earn in this wholesaling business. Would you guys agree?
Yeah, the more keys you have, the more doors you can open.
Let's go.
It's just
you were dropping some.
Yeah, he is. Dang. I wish somebody would look at me the way Ayoka just look at Robert. Dang. I want to be looked at like that.
No, but it's honestly, it's just the more going into football, if you have one run play, one pass play, they're going to know what defense to run you. They're just going to destroy you. But the multiple passes, multiple options, multiple run plays, it's just strategy. Yeah. Different ways. You don't take one way to your house if the street's blocked. You make a right and hey, let me go around there. It's just different strategies you can take.
Right. Yeah, I agree 100%. Okay, so tell us about how you got. Go ahead, Diego.
One quick thing, Felipe. Whenever you so because this is very important. So you got on that call, you locked, or you were able to get that appointment with the 5 deals. and then you weren't able to close. Of course, you learned different things, but what made you guys decide, hey, let's actually try to do this the right way, like drive the neighborhood. Let's see what we can learn rather than saying, you, Robert, see, I told you this, why I didn't want to do this. We wasted all of our time coming to Tennessee. Let's not do this. Let's just go back to New York and I'm going to find a job. Like, what? Because at those moments, it becomes very easy for somebody to say, I tried, we had 5 houses and we failed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
I know.
Okay, yeah. I'll answer after you.
Because, going into negotiation, I knew that for instance, the seller was informing me more so about my strategies than I was informing him more so about strategies for his solution. When that happened, I was like, okay, I don't have enough information to give this guy the right offer and strategy because I don't know. It's not that we were we couldn't give him more money or this and that. It's just I had one strategy, which was a fix and flip, which was not the key to open that door. And while he was talking to me in front of him and saying, hey, I'm not going to take a 50K reduction on my sale price, I realized, all right, it's not because of, hey, this doesn't work. It's more so I only had one option for him and he shot that down immediately and I had no second follow-up strategy. And when that happened, I'm like, all right, I just need to research more. And that's when I say we left that appointment feeling so rejuvenated, like, all right, we get our butts kicked, happy we get our butts kicked early and we can kick it on. And then we were super successful after that because every single appointment, we took away one thing from that appointment where we focused on to this day, I'm sure you guys to this day, there's one thing you learn. If anybody says hey, there's one course that will for sure make you an expert or make you Grant Cardone tomorrow, they're lying.
That's going to be the Rat Race to 5 beginners course. You can find it at. No, I'm just kidding.
No, but even that, I'm sure you guys offer a more in-depth version of that too as well. Your podcast, you're always having different people that can input differently, but there are great ways to start. Step 1, it's about the step 2, 3, 4, and 5. Preparing yourself for that. Not thinking that I could take the one step and then leap to step 50.
Yeah,
that's when people get messed up.
And I feel on your end, it becomes very like the power of questions. This is something that I always try to talk about, right? It's at the end of the day is you can tell yourself, oh my gosh, like we got our butts kicked. Let me just quit this. Or, okay, we got our butts kicked. What can we learn from this? So rather than fail, you learn. And
I love the 16-minute comment you made. The 16th minute. That should be like its own business right there. Like the 16, like take the 15 minutes, take the L, but that 16th minute needs to be back on your grind. So I think that's powerful because like Diego just said, right? Sorry, Diego, I didn't mean to cut you off there. It's about asking that why, those questions. I have a similar story, and I'm not going to talk about my story here, but where I had a banker on my first rental property that I still have, which is my highest cash flow producing house to this day, basically told me, no, we can't give you the loan. Sorry. And then she looked back down at her paper. And I mean, I could almost visually see myself grab her paper, pull it down and say, okay, but why? And when she told me why, I went and fixed it. And I came back to her office and said, how about now? And she said, no, because of this. And I kept going back and forth until finally she said, okay, you fixed it all. It was like credit, cash, it was a bunch of crap. But I finally got my 16th minute, if you will, right? It was like, okay, I had 15 minutes of like, crap, I can't figure this out, to, okay, but why? And then I was fixing those issues. So Diego, unless you had another question, I want to move on to the amount of doors you have now and how are you able to scale? And I don't want to say so quickly because I kind of personally take it offensive when people are like, oh, Felipe, how'd you scale so fast? I'm like, fast where? I worked my ass off for this. There ain't no fast nothing. So how did you guys scale? And then give the listeners a little bit of actionable steps that they can take to follow in your footsteps.
I do want to kind of piggyback on Diego's quick question and say this one part, that the one thing that I know for sure kept us going was that when you realize that you've got the hardest part out of the way successfully, in my opinion, which is
like
finding a seller. And when when you realize like, okay, I at least successfully got that part out of the way, which is I would say, and love your guys' opinion as well, but in this wholesaling business, the biggest thing, the hardest part is finding the seller, finding someone that's wanting to, sell their property. So, and to me, we looked at that and reflected like, okay, well, that was the most challenging thing, and we were able to do that with a cold call.
One call.
So if you can do that, then there's no reason to just give up. Yeah. But to fast forward to your question,
how did we
2020? Yeah, 2020 was when we decided. Well, the beginning of COVID and everything is when we decided that wholesaling alone as our primary source of income was not the smartest move. So that's when we realized, okay, so what is the next step and what are we missing? Because people are not allowing us in their homes because everybody's afraid of of COVID and catching it. So we're like, okay, now we need income that's just gonna, come in monthly, basically cash flow. And we're like, okay, so we need to network with people because at the time we were only networking with buyers, sellers.
Yeah.
We were staying and playing the game small, I would say. We didn't really think about trying to find investors that had multifamily properties, that had cash flow properties, that, even if single family, Airbnb, we didn't. We focused on the fast cash and everything. And when COVID happened, that's when we took a complete turnaround look at, okay, we need to have recurring income. What is the next move? And that's when we decided to start partnering and going to real estate investor groups and finding out how do we now take the next step from wholesaling to acquiring properties and being able to, get some equity basically in some of the properties, because we became really great at finding deals and giving them to everyone else to cash flow. But it's like, how do we now, can we sacrifice getting a wholesale fee to ownership in the property and, getting some, getting some rents, or what is the next step? And that's how we learned how to acquire.
And I think another thing, some actionable steps of how we got our how we got to this point is one of those real estate meetups that we went to, we networked with a guy that had about 250 doors. And, we were so like, oh my God, like we felt like the poorest people in the room, right? Yeah, we had no properties. We're just wholesalers. We didn't know. And we spoke to that guy and we're like, we will give you our time, whatever way possible you want to utilize it. We will give you our time if you teach us how did you get to the position that you're at? Because 250 properties seemed unfathomable to us. And he was like, all right, I will give you every Wednesday at 9 a.m.
I think it's Monday.
Every Monday at 9 a.m., 1 hour, and I will show you how I do financing, how I look at deals, how I analyze them, how I get private money, how I refi. And in exchange, you guys do some showings for my property, for my tenants. We're like, no problem. And
and at the time it was, in exchange for that was we bring him what he's looking for.
Multifamily deals. So
we're like, okay, he knew that what we could do, how we could bring value to him, like Rob was saying, was find him the properties that he's interested in buying. And the value we wanted to receive back from him was the knowledge behind how you're keeping these properties, how you're allowing them the cash flow and appreciate, and how are you getting your funding for them. So kind of exactly what
so
that is real quick, sorry Robert, that is how you pick someone's brain. You bring value. So for those of you guys that are listening, where earlier Robert was talking about people bringing the question of like, can I just pick your brain? It's like, no, you can't. But you guys came in with a value add, right? I'm going to find, and it sounds like you were trying to give more than you were asking for, right? It's like, I'm going to bring you deals. I need knowledge in return. And like Diego said earlier, never work for wages, work for knowledge or equity, right? So great job with that. Sorry, Robert, go ahead.
And dude, man, there were days where we were, some weeks that I was sick and I'm like, I'm tired, or I had a long night. I'm like, I'm tired. I don't want to wake up 9 a.m. But our thought process was, I am never, under no circumstances, gonna cancel on this guy whatsoever, because I want him to know that I am 1,000% invested. So I would before he would come into our office, which was a storage unit that we put couches in and ran Wi-Fi in. It was our first flip. Our first office was a 10 by 10 room with no windows that we ran Wi-Fi in. So and he came there, he looked at it, and he was like, all right, let's get started. But never would I cancel on him, because I want him to know that we were fully invested. So after, weeks went by, months went by, and we're learning, and we're bringing him deals that we were able to, just off of the relationship of months of us talking to us. We found a deal, a house that we still own today. That's an amazing cash flow property for us. That's a house with an accessory unit. So basically 2 units in a A-class neighborhood, that he gave us $185,000 and said, hey, go remodel it, rehab it, buy it. It took us 6 months to rehab it, which was absolutely dreadful. It was horrible. We were trying to save every penny. But the steps that we took to get to that was just, we went to a meetup, we talked to somebody, we networked, we showed them, hey, we are willing to give you our time in exchange for your knowledge. And that ended up getting us our first multifamily deal, where we were successful at. And he was like, wow, you guys do a really good job. I trust you. And we were able to partner, fund more deals, find more deals, and we bring more value. He brought value to us, and it became a partnership where now, quite frankly, money is not our issue. It's really finding the deal.
Yeah, I love that answer.
And so really quick, you guys went from 0 doors in 2020, right, in the pandemic, to how many now?
24.
So right now we're at 24, and I didn't tell Ayoka this. I was trying to surprise her, but I just got a call from a seller that he's willing to sell 19 additional doors in a great part of town. I was trying to tell you that this morning, but she was pouty because she didn't have breakfast. So I was like, all right, let me save it. But you're what you throw out into the atmosphere, you will receive, right? Our goal was 30 doors by 30. We thought at that point when we said that, we only had 2 deals, two doors. We're like, man, 30 deals by 30, that would be incredible. And now it's like we're on the verge of surpassing that by the end of the year. Hopefully our goal is to have about 60 doors. But it's just, man, it's a wild ride. I don't know really what to make of it, really.
That's awesome.
It's interesting because what is that saying? Like I love Diego's sayings, but I can never remember them. I know what I'm trying to say, but it's like,
I'll say it.
We're in each other's head.
You overestimate what you can achieve in a year, and you underestimate what you can achieve in 5 or 10.
Yeah.
Like, and that's where you guys are at. Like, you're like 30 by 30. It's like, no, dude, 30 by December, right? Like, you guys are going to crush it. And clearly you have the grind, the mindset, the mentality. You've obviously got your systems and processes in place when it comes to wholesaling there in chat. What's next for the power couple? What's on the radar? You've got wholesaling down. You've got buying rentals down. Is it just turning the machine now, or what's next for you guys? What's the big goal?
I wouldn't even say we have it down, but we like I said, you're always learning. You never want to, think that we have it down. There's always more, but I think, I think we self-manage a lot of our properties. I think going forward, I get the time, the ROI, like you were saying, is it worth my time now managing properties, doing, fixing toilets and checking on this and doing that? Can I just transition over to management company where my greatest asset is our ability to find deals? Can I focus all of my effort into finding more deals? I think that's the next step. What about you? That's for me, I think.
I think the enjoyment of quality of life is now like my next real focus. And I was thinking about this yesterday, or last night. I was having dinner with this other investor, and it just made me, I've been saying for like the last couple of years that in this business, in this entrepreneurship world, and maybe you guys can relate or have a different opinion, that you can get caught up. Like, I wouldn't say it's like a burnt out or you're not enjoying what you're doing, but you can get caught up in just the everyday, I guess, hustling, environment, that taking time to enjoy quality of life can fall on the back burner. And one of my big next steps is for sure acquiring more cash flowing properties and enjoying just setting some time to put in more vacations and just enjoying quality of life as well.
Basically what Ayoka's saying, a vacation for me is going to Home Depot lumber section, and she doesn't want to walk. She doesn't like that the employees know me by first name basis. So,
oh man,
know him. It's sickening.
Yeah.
So really quick too, how have you guys? So for example, that 19 unit, right? How will you guys fund that deal? Would it be a commercial loan? Do you guys have private lenders already?
Great question, Diego. I'm learning I'm learning about this as you guys are.
She's like, yeah, Robert. How are we going to fund
Robert.
it, Robert?
I don't even know where it's at.
So I don't want to say them, but I'll show you. But basically, like the biggest thing is finding the deal, right? If it's a good deal, it's like having a bag of money, giving it to a private money lender. They know they're going to have returns. So the money is not the issue. I can go to a bank and leverage some of the properties that I have, or I can go to a lender, or I can go to someone that, with inflation rates going up and rates going up, hey, do they want to take their cash out of the bank and put it in a hard, tangible asset? There's multiple strategies for a seller, there's multiple strategies for funding, right? And the more strategies you have for the funding, the more deals you can take down, right?
Powerful.
But this particular property, we're buying two deals from this seller June 1st. We're closing on them.
Oh,
wholesaling them. And he's broached the subject of he'd be open to owner financing those two. I haven't talked to him yet, but my first avenue is having him owner finance this 19 unit. Have him, invite him for a steak and talk to him about that. But that's my first option. My second option is going to a private lender. I have a guy out in California that literally begs me, hey, have you found a big deal? Have you found a big deal? Willing to throw money away. And just looking at the preliminary numbers, this is about a 15% cap. And all he's seeing back at home is about a 5 or 4. So if I say, hey, I have a 15 cap multi-unit, you'll be the lender on it. You just go along for the ride. I'm pretty sure he'll say yeah. And I got my funding right then and there, just off of one person. So it's that simple. And that's before I even go to a bank, before I even leverage my own doors, before I do anything, take cash out of my own pocket. Already I have 2 options to go. And that's how I'm thinking about funding that deal. But I also have to analyze it too as well to make sure we're not over leveraged on it.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and what is the best way for people to reach out to you guys?
Well, as of June, we're going to put I always say this wrong. Is it Calendly link so that we can schedule calls with people? So we're going to get a lot better with the operational side. But for right now, our Instagram will probably be the best way to reach out to us. If you want to go ahead and plug it, Rob.
Real Love _real estate.
I get in trouble for not making content.
Yeah, Yoke has to get better. But we post the good, the bad, the ugly. You can message us on there. We're open. You can, sometimes we do walkthroughs on properties on our live. You just follow us and go along for the ride.
I love it. Guys, thank you so much for jumping on the Rat Race to 5 podcast. We'd love to hear your story. We do talk about the numbers, but as always, I'd rather just get to know you guys as people and what you guys do, the struggles and stuff. For us, that's a little bit more important than, I have 100 doors. Look how big I am.
Oh, yeah.
Man,
who are you as a person? I don't know your struggles, right? So thanks so much for jumping on here, guys. Again, we'll see you next time, but seriously, congratulations on what you're doing. It's huge. It's powerful.
Yeah. And I love the transition that you guys are doing from just trying to focus on your active income, right? Which is great because you guys have built a money machine, to invest in it for horizontal income or passive income.
Thank you.
Love it, guys. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you, Ayoka and Robert.
The Rat Race to 5 podcast, where we discuss money, mindset, real estate investing, and ways to achieve financial independence. Whether you are a rookie or a veteran needing new ideas for investing or creating side hustles, you're in the right place.